Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. We have returned, and I hereby announce, this is closing out the executive session. I hereby announce the date is August 14th, 2025, and the time is 6:27 p.m. No vote or action was taken in executive session. There being no further business on that, we will return to our regular agenda, which picks up with opening the regular meeting, and it's a good compliment. I have a number of speakers for different items. We'll get to that in a minute. However, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation, which will be led by Captain John Kimbrough, who's with the fire department as a chaplain. So remain standing after the pledges. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Captain Kimbrough, thank you.
Please bow your heads for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your presence here tonight. We thank you for the way that you have gathered us together to be able to lead those in this city in the direction that it goes. We thank you for the ways that you provide the wisdom and the guidance that we need in order to be able to direct this city in the proper direction. Thank you so much for the ways that you have provided so much faith, mercy, and guidance throughout the years. We thank you, Father, for your love and your forgiveness and for your Son who died for us. We thank you for all you do for us, Father. It's in Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Okay, we have no absence requests today, so I'll move to hear visitors. But first, just a comment that I think most everybody, particularly those speaking tonight, has spoken to us before, so you're aware of our speaker protocol, which is written in the printed agenda and online. Those of you who are speaking, just come to the podium and remember you got 3 minutes. There's a timer up there that will be turned on, and we'll be happy to hear from you on each of the items you signed up to speak about. During Hear Visitors, an individual can address the City Council on any item that does not appear on the posted agenda. We will listen and receive those comments and concerns, and in some cases may ask staff to address them. In some cases, staff is already working on the item, but we cannot debate or discuss it since it's not on the posted agenda. So I do have 4 people that are speaking in person, but I want to remind council members on the back of your speaker list, there is a statement from Mr. Logan Russell, who has indicated his concern he couldn't be here to speak. So take a look at that and give it some thought. So I'm going to take the names in order. Anna Lowry will be followed by Susan Ferrari. So Anna, please come forward, and then Susan Ferrari will follow. Good evening.
Howdy. My name is Anna Lowry, and I live in the Midtown subdivision. I have 2 things I would like to discuss: Rock Prairie road construction and access to Midtown. First, I want to thank you for the work that's being done to Rock Prairie and for the excellent progress that is being made. Even though I live on the detour for the current phase and probably the next one, it is worth it to know that very soon Rock Prairie will soon be much safer and more accessible as a result of the work. Having moved here from Georgetown last year, I know what street construction projects look like, but I have never seen a team of workers who work as hard or as swiftly as this team does. Every day you can see a change. So please thank them on our behalf. Second, I want to endorse the suggestions made by Shelby Bem and James Muir concerning access to and signage for the Midtown subdivision. We are the best-kept secret in College Station, but we don't want to be. While the neighborhood is quickly developing into a family-friendly place due to the residential development, many of us expected it to also attract restaurants and businesses that would provide great access and much-needed taxing relief from the Rock Prairie Management District. While I don't have permission to speak on behalf of the 4 builders in our neighborhood, I'm sure Kaleo Homes, Boxwood, Stylecraft, and D.R. Horton would be able to attract more buyers as well. Quality builders who thrive will continue to invest in College Station and contribute to healthy growth. This development has so many good attributes and is a wonderful place to live. Please help us by renewing the original enthusiasm and invest in Midtown. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lowry. Susan Ferrari will be followed by Shelby Boehm. Ms. Ferrari, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to talk to you. I'm Susan Ferrari, and I live in Emerald Forest on Rosewood Drive. And the creek, Rosewood Creek, or whatever you want to call it, runs right straight through the middle of my lot. First, I would like to request, I know we've been over a couple of times, the water that comes through this waterway. Request a water velocity test if it can be set in place, and find out during the rainy season just how much water is coming through there. It might take the study could be several weeks to a month or two. I'm not sure how you collect this data, but anyway, I wanted to just put that out as a suggestion, as one of the things that you might do in your study of the water flow through our neighborhood. Also, back in 23 and 24, my personal retaining wall started to fail due to some construction debris that came from above, which has caused all of our water issues. And it's brought in a lot of silt or debris, I'm not sure what you call it. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm just getting my IT guy to check my screen because it's not
Oh,
working.
okay.
But your presentation is front and center.
The city has maintained this easement, and they failed to do so for a while, and it caused this debris to pile up and redirect the water, and it redirected it to where it went behind my retaining wall, and it pulled it out. Also, it moved the sidewalks, my outer sidewalks, my gas meter, and my AC pad away from my home, which I have recently repaired. But back in February of 2024, I reached out to Emily Fisher, and God bless her soul, she came out and gave me a site visit upon my request, and she looked at the issue, and she talked to Ronnie Looper, and he and his crew jumped into action, and they brought out a big machine, and they lowered a smaller machine down into the creek, and they were cleaning out all of this debris because that's what needed to be happening all along. But it was so much debris that the little machine got stuck and sunk into that debris. Then they brought in a bigger machine, and I removed a fence so they could bring this bigger machine in to get the stuck machine out, and that bigger machine got stuck. That's how much soot, or whatever you call that mud stuff, was in this creek. So they never totally removed any of it, and they just couldn't figure out what to do. So they brought in trucks and trucks and truckloads of rocks, and they dumped them into the creek. Now, this picture that you see up here
Keep it going.
is a culvert, and the water comes out underneath Emerald Parkway, and the rocks that you see here are higher than the cement when the culvert comes out. So this water is unable to drain through, and it's caused a lot of mosquitoes and all kinds of stuff. I'm just wanting to make a suggestion that, we either have tons of water through this creek, and now we can't get that to drain off. and there's a lot of mosquitoes, and people walk in this area, and it's not healthy. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Ferrari. I think the staff is working with that homeowner association and all of those properties there.
Right, but not that.
Thank you. I'm sure they'll take note of it, I'm sure. Shelby Boehm is next, and then be followed by Cheryl Wink.
I actually don't have a lot to say, which hopefully that's thankful for you guys. But I do want to say thank you guys so much for, I guess I know where you all stand. I feel like you have heard our concerns a lot, and I'm hopeful that there will be something that we can see financially as you continue to move forward in the budget conversations. Echoing some of my neighbor that recently just spoke, I think we all just want Midtown to thrive, and that's where the passion comes from. And yeah, just excited to move forward and excited where conversations will go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cheryl Wink.
Howdy, howdy. Just real quick, I want to say that I looked at the list of capital projects on the WTAW website, and I was really kind of sad, no, more than sad, but very disappointed to see that drainage was way down on the list, almost like not even too much of a mention. And I just want to kind of like parallel this to like having a house and you're having like a leaking in your roof and you're planting pretty flowers and all this kind of stuff, but you have a leak in your house. And I really think you take care of needs before wants. Okay, so now I'm going to circle back around to drainage easements, okay? I mentioned a little bit about the last time that I spoke a couple weeks ago, and I just want to reiterate the fact that let's see here. Drainage easements, a legal agreement that grants a third-party entity like a government agency, which would be the City of College Station, or utility company, access to a property in order to maintain drainage infrastructure, okay? So the homes along Rosewood Channel all have drainage easement. I have seen the plots and the plats of land on like 4 of the properties. I don't know why it would be on 4 and then it wouldn't continue all the way down, but regardless. Okay, so then I'm gonna go on to say, let's see here. Who is responsible for maintaining drainage easements? Government and utility agencies handle repairs and installations, while landowners are often responsible for routine maintenance within the easement, okay? So, for example, property owners clear leaves and debris to prevent water buildup, but the utility or government entity and utility agency are responsible for making repairs to the easement, the structure in the easement. Okay, so I'm going to go on to say common drainage easement conflicts. Improper construction or redirection of water flow, okay? Blocked or clogged culverts, pipes, or ditches. Unauthorized grading, paving, fencing over drainage paths, flooding or erosion, like Miss Susan Fieri has, of adjacent properties due to drainage misuse, failure of the responsible party to maintain the drainage infrastructure. Okay, so we know we've had Arvin Mahan. He has been dealing with y'all for almost, 10 years back and forth, and I'm just going to challenge you, Mayor, on your comment at the last City Council meeting when you said that you guys don't own drainage easements. Yes, you do. You guys specifically have the control of those drainage easements down the Rosewood Channel. And I'm going to ask you also, are you guys proud of your city? Are y'all proud of the City of College Station? I would say yes. So let's take care of the city that you have created. Please, let's just take care and protect. And we are the people that you need to protect.
Thank you, Ms. Wink. I will, since you challenged me directly, I will say that you misquoted me. What I said is, in Bee Creek main channel there, the city did not own an easement there. We do now have negotiated with the new owner of that property. The city has allocated $740,000 in our next year's budget to hire a contractor to clean the brush and open that channel. That's all I'm going to say is to elaborate on your point. So thank you very much. We do have one written comment from Mr. Logan Russell. For those council members can look at that in the packet. And that completes our here visitors session. We do have quite a few items on the next agenda item, which is consent agenda. We have 14 items. However, the item number 6.14, item number 6.12 has been pulled for a future meeting to be addressed later. So we're dealing with 6.1 through 6.14, not including 6.12. Any council members wish to have any polled for questions, clarification? Mr. White?
6.4.
6.4.
Six,
others?
six.
Pardon?
6.6.
6.6.
And 13, please, Mayor.
6:13. Mr. Schaefer, any? Okay. Well, I'm glad you're taking these in order then. Item 6.4 is Ms. Kane and Brent Cast. Presentation, discussion, possible action, a contract with Stateside Right-of-Way Services not to exceed $111,000 for real estate services.
Mayor and Council, Brett Cast.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
White?
Yes, thank you so much. Can you answer a couple of questions for me? First of all, how long is this contract? Is this an annual contract, or is this a,
The terms of this contract are stated for 24 months. This is not an annual contract. The purpose of this contract was we had an opening in one of our land agent positions, and in the name of keeping our projects going and acquiring the properties that we need in order to effect these projects, we are going to a third party to acquire those and to clear all the title issues associated.
so it's my understanding that the employee that we did have was a broker, and they're no longer on staff. So are you planning on bringing somebody back on staff that can do this type of work?
Yes, sir. There is a position open, and we are currently interviewing. For the purpose of the scope of this work, we will move forward with the third party so that projects continue to move. But the intention is, yes, to fill the position that is open.
So do we need a 2-year contract? Will it take 2 years to hire this new individual?
So the scope of the work will likely not take 2 years. But
So
If
so if
council
we only
member-
if we only need it for a year, could we, like, divide that?
Councilmember, I would say generally, but although it relates to this specifically, we utilize right-of-way and title folks, especially when we're doing a lot of the work, even if we have are fully staffed, so we use them in conjunction with it. So while we may use it more intensely right now, while we don't have someone, it's likely that we'll have odds and ends throughout the next couple of years that we do this for. And even if we fill it, we may come back for additional contracts like this just to have people available if we need them for supplement.
So this is not a 24, an 8 to 5 job. This is as needed.
No, it's
At
and then that's why
a
it's
certain hourly billing rate.
right, not to
and
exceed. So we
expenses.
task them with certain projects, and so again, if we bring someone else on, and it may make more sense. A lot of times when you're doing big road construction projects, if you can clear more of the right of way sooner, the cost you save on the time that prevents you from moving forward on the construction parts much better. So
Now that-
we'll use it for both.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I just have not seen this type of contract services before, and this was new to me.
We a lot of times do them, and we have different, but we'll do them in big tranches, but this one is coming a little bit separate because we did have an employee retire, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 6.6 for Carl Ahrens. This is a little long, but I'll read it anyway. Presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending Chapter 38, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 6, Traffic Schedule, Section 381014, Traffic Schedule, 14 number, no parking here to corner, no parking anytime, Code of Ordinances, City College Station, so on and so forth. It relates to certain streets, Agatha Court, Coral River Road, Crossvine Lane, Daniel Land Court, Lantana Way, Legendary Drive, Oldham Oaks Avenue, River Cane Court, Storyteller Court, and Sudden Breeze Drive. Ms. McElhaney.
This actually was a question, hi Carl,
Hi.
that a citizen sent, and I thought it was actually a pretty insightful one. Greensbury Reserve is a relatively new, well laid out neighborhood, and usually when we see these requests come through, it's to provide space in some of our older neighborhoods. So I'm curious, and we have a citizen that was curious as to was there a planning failure within the design of this, or was this always the intent for these streets?
This was always the intent. The signage exists out there now. It's just not on our parking schedule in the Unified Development Ordinance. So we're just adding that back in. This happened at the time of platting, and when they came in and constructed the streets.
Okay, so it was always planned to be one side parking. Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you very much. Item, I think, the next one is 6.13. That is a presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance repealing Chapter 8 of Business Code, Article 8, mobile food vendors. Anthony?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't have any questions for staff. I just wanted to point out some information for council, if I may, Mayor.
Please.
From the Environmental Services Department, the Health Department, which I chair, this bill 2844, everything staff says is exactly so in their cover sheet. But the inspection authority will allow collaborative agreements between the Department of State Health Services, who holds that responsibility now, and local jurisdictions for local health inspections. And our health department is working on I don't know what you call it, an intergovernmental agreement between the state and themselves to where they would continue on the state's behalf to do that activity. And then lastly, the bill does not take effect until July 1, 2026, and the program rules will come out from the state May of 2026. So before we jumped out there and canceled or repealed, I don't think we would have done that tonight, and there's a notice period and all that. I just thought that was good information for the council to have. Thank you.
Maybe I ought to ask for a little more clarification, given your statement from our city attorney. If it really doesn't take effect for a year, why are we, I understand why we have to repeal this. The state has preempted our authority, so we don't have any more authority. I thought that was effective September 1 this year.
So it's a two-part bill. So there's two aspects of this bill. There's several, the first three items, so to speak, of the bill take effect September 1. The remainder that Councilman Yancey is pointing to, those additional requirements come out actually, July, November-ish, I think, of next year. There's a second phase, so to speak, of a kick-in there.
Okay, so what we've been regulating, we can't regulate
Right,
after
but
September 1.
Essentially, the September 1 kick-in is that that municipalities can no longer permit them at all. That kicked in, or that kicks in September 1. The rest of some other requirements will take place later on in the year.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yeah.
Can you give that to the city attorney?
The other item that was asked for is a similar item, 6.14. It's presentation, discussion, possible action, or discussion regarding an ordinance repealing Chapter 26 over occupancy ordinances. Chief Mann is the presenter, but I don't see him here.
I can answer any questions that y'all have, council.
City manager, city attorney, thank you.
I don't really have any questions. I just think that it bears thanking staff for the effort that they've gone to for the last few years, creating a paradigm in which we had a WHO and a RU and the middle housing, and the effort that was made to provide access and housing for our students. I know that this is a less than perfect ordinance, that we are looking at other means of making our city livable for all demographics, but for 3 years you guys poured your blood, sweat, and tears into trying to get a solution to this, and I just want to say thank you. And I'm happy that where we're going there will be more binary enforcement opportunities to deal with the problems of over occupancy, but I just don't want this to die without recognizing the last 3 years of effort that a lot of people put in, and recognizing that we're going to have to go a whole different direction. So, but thank you for your persistence.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember McElhaney. That brings us to the end of the question period for the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion on items 6.1 through 6.14 minus 6.12, which has been pulled.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to
What-
approve the consent.
A clarification, please. We wouldn't be making a decision to repeal the ordinance
We are.
of food truck inspections.
Mr. Armstrong answered that question. We are making that decision in item 6.13 because, as he said, our ordinance authority for certain items ends September 1, 2024, or 25, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mayor, the language in the bill, the preemption language goes into effect September 1. Kind of the rest of the new things that Anthony talked about go into effect later. So the preemption stuff that is in conflict with our ordinance or conflicts with our ordinance that we can't regulate is the part that goes into effect September 1.
So we are, 6.13 says we are repealing those items that we have been claiming as our authority to regulate, and because we no longer have the authority to regulate those items after September 1, 2025. The other items that revolve around negotiations and the clarification that Mr. Armstrong talked about will come along later, but that's not part of our regulatory authority that we've claimed in the previous years.
And to try to help with some of the confusion. So the health district will still play a role in the future. So they will have some aspects that take effect July 1. From the local municipality standpoint, the preemption goes into effect September 1 and we're out of the game. But
I think Ms. Albrecht's concern was that, and I don't really know, as I sit here, where I come down on it. I just thought it was for council's edification and discussion. Environmental Services' concern at the health department is that if we do this tonight, between now and July, there will be no inspections at all for food trucks.
right, so from the city's perspective, actually the only inspection we do is a fire inspection and then of the unit. So the health district still has a role that they can play on their own, and it's actually a separate process from the city's. The city's process is what we're repealing tonight. The rest of it is up for discussion between health departments and the state.
Okay, but didn't the bill, so we won't be issuing permits?
Correct. So right now, if you wanted to do a mobile food truck in the city of College Station, we permit the actual truck. So you have to come into the city. You provide stuff like your driver's license information, the license plate of the truck, the different information on the vehicle, who's driving the vehicle, the business information. You also provide us your health district permit, and we confirm that with the health district, and then you do a fire safety inspection, so event hood or things like that might be required per the fire code.
We won't be doing
Which we won't be
that
able to do anymore per the state. But the health department and the health component of it, the safety component of it, that's what's being worked out between health districts and the state.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.14, except for 6.12. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The consent agenda minus 6.12 is approved. Okay, we move on rather quickly to our workshop agenda. I see Miss Leonard walking forward. I've got to get to the right page here. Item 7.1, presentation, discussion, possible action on 2025-2026 ad valorem tax rate and calling a public hearing on a proposed ad valorem tax rate for FY 25 and 2025-2026. Ms. Leonard, you can make this clearer than I did, please.
I'm not so sure about that, but we'll try. Okay, so this item is to call the tax rate for the public hearing. This is so that council has an opportunity to have a discussion about the highest rate that they would like to set the tax rate at in order for people to come in and have a discussion about the tax rate. You're not voting on a tax rate. You are not setting a tax rate. All you're doing is picking a number that we will publicize to have the public hearing at. And it's in a workshop so that y'all can have a discussion. Before you start that discussion, there's a couple of items that we wanted to bring to your attention. When we talked about the proposed budget, we had estimated a no new revenue rate and a voter approval rate based off of some information that we had gotten from the appraisal district preliminarily. We do that estimate because prior councils have requested that we preserve the right for the council to be able to have this discussion and determine whether or not they wanted to set a rate that was higher than the voter approval rate, which would require an election. In order to have that election and meet the legal deadlines to be able to hold that election, we have to estimate that rate. So we did that, and we talked about it. When we got the certified values and the information from the appraisal district and the tax office, what happened is the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate were higher than what we estimated. In simple terms, the way the math works and the calculus behind this is that if your valuations go down, your rates go up. That's what happened. Our valuations went down, and they went down from two factors. One is something that is called the settled litigation. There is an amount of litigation that is at the appraisal district that between April and the beginning of this month, when we got the information, got settled. End of April and the beginning of this month. And the estimate that was used was about 3% of settled litigation. That's our historical average. That's normally what happens within the city. We, however, this year had 9% of the outstanding litigation settled. That was a significant amount and a significant change for not just us, but also for the county. When they settle that litigation, that 9% relates to only litigation from 2024. They'll also settle litigation from prior years, and we have litigation going all the way back to 2018. That settlement on those litigations, normally we write checks for about $370,000. We ended up having to write checks for about $1 million this year. Again, that difference between those two resulted in our valuations going down, and therefore the no new revenue estimate and the voter approval estimate went up. So for the city of College Station, what we have been trying to do, as I mentioned earlier, is strategically manage the tax rate, meaning that we thoughtfully consider the no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate and what it is that we need to run the city for that year. And we look forward for the next 5 years to make sure that we have considered the impact of anything that gets added to the budget and that we can still cover that, and that's the recommendations that we made. However, we still have a significant amount of litigation still outstanding. That number is somewhere between 1.8 billion and 2.2 billion as of this morning. So that number is going to continue to change and grow as the 25 information comes forward. The lawsuit gain and loss report for 2024 showed a revenue loss of equivalent about 3.3 million. That's the loss and the valuations that went down and why those two rates went up. There are two other things that council needs to consider, and that is possible legislation from the state level that's going to go into effect and impact us. There's been discussion about a 2.5% cap, What that cap is your no new revenue rate, that right now we have a 3.5% cap, meaning the difference between that no new revenue rate and the voter approval rate, simply put in the calculus, is about a 3.5% difference. That's the difference in the revenue that you are permitted to have without going out for an election. There is a bill at the state that would lower that difference to 2.5%. If you'll remember when we were discussing the inflation rate that has to be covered by the city, this year we're using 3%. So a 2.5% limit on your revenue increase to cover inflationary impacts of 3% may impact the city in the future. We don't know. We don't know what inflation's going to be, but that is an impact that you need to consider in your discussions tonight. The second is a legislation that we found out about yesterday related to personal property tax exemptions that we were informed most likely will go into effect. And what that means is that personal property will be exempted, meaning no taxes on the first $125,000 of personal property tax. That impact for the entire county is about $500 million. We are 52% of the county, so our impact is around $260 million worth of valuation that will be lost when this goes into effect, which is about a $1.3 million, or roughly a penny on the tax rate. So with that, I'm going to turn this discussion over to council, and what we need tonight is a motion for the highest tax rate council would like to consider adopting on Thursday, August 28th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers, and I'll be available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. As I recall, we did get some recommendation from the city manager a couple of weeks ago regarding the circumstances as they existed then. However, those circumstances have changed substantially, so I'm interested in what council is willing to propose. Remember, we're not adopting anything tonight. We're simply setting a hearing on the August 28th and specifying the tax rate at maximum tax rate that we would consider at that hearing. It could be lower if we decide then. Mr. Wright, you have a question or a comment?
No, I was ready to make the motion, so if there is any questions or comments, John, go ahead.
Well, if we can get a motion on the floor, we
Sure.
can then have a
If
discussion.
That's fine with you, yeah.
I do have one question, if I may, Mayor.
Well, if you want to have a question first, that's fine. Yep.
Why, I mean, if the number doesn't matter and we're not adopting it tonight, why set the highest possible? If you set the floor, you're saying
The law
that
requires you to set the highest possible rate that you would consider in the
law
public
does.
hearing.
This is
The
not
law.
our
No, it
MO.
is not.
This is the law.
This is the law.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just make a comment too. I know we said it on Tuesday, but since it's this meeting, it's been our recommendation from a staff process perspective that no matter what rate you intend to set, that you always call the hearing at the voter approval rate, which is the highest rate you could set it out without going to the voters. And if you can go back to the slide before, you'll see that we have also set the tax rate, I think 3 out of the last 5 years, below that rate. But in all of those cases, we've recommended the voter approval rate from a procedural standpoint. I will also add that I have recommended differently in the past. I sent something to council, but I will say I am recommending you consider the voter approval rate as your adopted tax rate as you consider it for the next few weeks and before the hearing based on the factors that we've outlined here.
Ms. Mary, before the motion is made, can you tell me what is the voter approval rate exactly? It's 51.18?
Hang on one second.
Okay, yes, I assume you will need that for the motion. Oh? But yeah, no, but we'll hear it from. Okay.
The voter approval rate for the city of College Station this year is 51.1872.
And that's the highest rate we can set without an election, correct?
Correct.
and that's simply a placeholder until we decide on the 28th what the actual number will be, which could be that number or anything below it.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Wright, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion that we set the highest rate that we're willing to consider at the voter approval rate at 51.1872%. That
And call a hearing.
I think that may have been misspoken. Can you say the number again?
51.1872%.
1.872?
Yes, 1.1872
That's
per
it.
$100 of
Cents.
assessed valuation.
That's it.
And you're calling the hearing for?
Thursday, August 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in City Council Chambers.
So that's all part of your motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, do I have a second? Second from Mr. Schaefer? Is that where I heard it from? Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do you wish to speak to your motion or just have it voted on? Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, what we're doing is calling a public hearing for August 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. City Hall Council Chambers, and we will be considering adopting a tax rate of 51.1876
Per 72.
72 at that time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We've got a motion now, we got a approval to hold that public hearing, and be happy to hear from visitors, citizens regarding what our circumstances are, and we'll be adopting the budget that day as well, correct?
Yes, there will be a number of items. We'll adopt the budget. We'll have the public hearing on the tax rate. We will adopt the budget. We'll adopt a tax rate, and you'll adopt the fee ordinance that day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that takes care of item 7.1. Mr. Armstrong, 7.2, what's the workshop item, presentation, discussion, possible action regarding state law changes to the impact fee amendment processes, and I do have two people who have signed up to speak on this, but that'll be after the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Anthony Armstrong, Planning and Development Services. So this item is a workshop item to kind of give you some background to this. Council requested during the budget meeting workshops that we had, Council requested an item regarding hearing, setting the impact fee collection rate to 0 or have a discussion on that. Since that budget meeting and with some changes in state law, kind of want to outline what that process would have to look like in order to get to that goal line for council for your consideration. So I'm going to kind of go over some different changes due to Senate Bill 1883, which is the main bill that came out regarding impact fees, and kind of how that's going to affect the timeline and what we need to see from the council going forward. The biggest thing that we're looking for from council as an action item tonight, so to speak, would be what is the IFAC made up of, and we'll go over that here in a second. And then I've got some numbers for you just to give you an idea of what collections look like to date. And so to kind of go over again, effective September 1, as you've already heard, with a number of other bills, Senate Bill 1883 does a number of things. I'm going to highlight 5 main points, and we're going to really focus in on the 2 that affect kind of the request made by council. Some key pieces are that in order to approve the imposition of an impact fee, it requires that 2/3 of council make an affirmative vote on that motion. So in order to amend the fee, you would have to have 2/3 of council in agreement to make that amendment to the fee. Additionally, impact fees there was a section in there that says that you cannot increase the fee within 3 years of a previous increase or adoption. There is an exception in there to what the city has done. So for instance, with roadway and water, we phased in collection rates. And so if you have a phased in rate, as long as it's shorter than a 10-year phase in, which is the life of the update you do. If your phase in is less than that, which we have about a 3-year phase in for roadway ends on January 1 and water has already ended. And so if you have a phase-in process, as soon as that process does not count against you in that 3-year window. So you could still reassess your fees or relook at your assessed rate outside of that. The other thing would be the independent financial audit requirement. And so whenever you do adopt a new fee, for an impact fee, it does require an independent financial audit, essentially of your books on how you're using the impact fees. Similar to the semi-annual report that we do, it just has to be done by a third party instead. You can use impact fees to fund that study as well, but those are some of the big takeaways from the bill that are part of the takeaways. The main ones are the ones coming up. So the first is that the amendment, any amendment to an impact fee requires a 60-day notice. In the past, it was only 30 days, so in order to make a change or amend an impact fee, you had to give a 30-day notice. You now have to give a 60-day notice, so that's double the notice. Additionally to that, another wrinkle in this timeline is the IFAC. So the biggest change, right now, there's a section of state law that says that your Planning and Zoning Commission, if you have one, is able to function as your IFAC, your Impact Fee Advisory Committee. The Impact Fee Advisory Committee is required to hear any change to impact fees, the capital plan, or the impact fee CIP, or the land use assumptions, excuse me, and the impact fee CIP. The change is that that section about your P&Z can be the IFAC has been struck entirely. It's no longer allowed. And so they also made which is a slight increase from 40 to 50%, but what that means is that your IFAC has to now be made up of, it's an appointed committee by council, half of the representatives have to be from the real estate, development, or building industries, and they cannot be a government employee. So what that means is if you were like, hey, we want Brian Benford to be a building representative on the committee, can't do that because he works for a government agency. So keep that in mind when we get to that point of making appointments. These last two have the biggest play on the request from council regarding hearing an item to set the collection rate to 0. And so in order to do that, we now have to first make a new IFAC because our IFAC is against state law come September 1, which even had we done a 30-day notice, we wouldn't have been able to make a timeline before the new IFAC had to be implemented. So I'll go over what a timeline looks like for that. In addition, once we make the IFAC, we then have to post 60 days prior to the IFAC meeting that they are hearing an item to amend the fee. And so a couple things on this new IFAC committee. Again, half the members have to be from the development community as a broad statement. Right now, the IFAC consists of 9 members, so there is a minimum requirement of 5. So if our P&Z obviously is more than 5. Your committee has to have at least 5 members. Right now we have 9 members. It's the P&Z and 2 ad hocs. Our ad hocs are Richard Woodworth and John Magruder are our current ad hoc members. And then the rest of them are your Planning and Zoning Commission. Members of the P&Z can actually still be appointed to the committee. They just can't be a government employee, or if they wouldn't be able to count as one of our the 50% development community. So if they happen to have a tie to that, they wouldn't be able to count towards that requirement. And so I'll wrap back up to this, but a big question for council tonight and what we're looking for your feedback on is what do you want that committee to be made up of? How many members do you want it to be? Again, the minimum is 5. 50% have to be the development community. So do you want to do something like 4 members of P&Z and 4 members of a development community? Do you want to do more? You can think through how you want that to be like and have a discussion on it. What this means for the timeline for a fee amendment. So obviously if we move forward from today with action based on going forward with trying to figure out a day that we can make the collection rate 0, the first step would be we have to create the new IFAC ordinance. So that also requires a public notice because the way that P&Z is written into the code, it's a UDO item. UDO items require a 30-day or requires a notification timeline. That's a 15-day timeline for a UDO text amendment. Right now, the UDO says that the P&Z acts as an IFAC. So we have to remove that authority, get it out of the code, and then at the same time, once that's removed from the code, we would take that back to back. It has to go to P&Z as a text amendment, then to council for a final adoption. The day after that, we can post for the IFAC. So whatever the makeup is that council decides, we would post through the city secretary's office, start getting appointments to that committee so that we could get that committee filled, which we're going to have to do that regardless. So that timeline is going to happen no matter what happens on the back end of this. We have to do that immediately no matter what. It lines up pretty nicely actually with November 13th is when we'd be able to, assuming we get the right number of applicants, we'd be able to come back to council around November 13th, give about 30 days or so to get enough people in there. We could certainly bring it back sooner if we get enough people sooner. But we would bring that back to council for them to actually appoint the IFAC members. November 13th is actually right around that time that we typically bring the semi-annual report forward, which has to go to the IFAC. So that would be a good time. Essentially, their first meeting would be to get to hear the semi-annual report. So that would be a good crash course for sure. And then obviously after we appoint this new committee, that from that day on, we would need to post at least a 60-day notice for the IFAC to meet. And so certainly we can, that timeline to some degree it depends on when we can, when that meeting date is. Depending on the makeup of that committee, right now we're just kind of assuming it would be on a Thursday. If there's still representation of P&Z, it could be some part P&Z, some part some other group. That's kind of just what I use as the target timeline. It doesn't really make a big difference in the overall scheme of things, but just to give you an idea. So with that 60-day notice pushes us actually right into the first weekend of January. Historically speaking, we can't get people to meet around that time period. Gets you a little bit past the first week of January into that second week, which would be a council week. So we'd be looking to have an IFAC meeting around January 15th. That's a Thursday. Again, just an assumption that could be a little bit fluid. And then we, again, would take that back-to-back immediately back to council. That means that the IFAC would hear the amendment request around mid-January. Council would hear it at earliest at the end of January. So that's if everything goes according to plan, no hiccups, we get enough applicants, we are able to get these people to meet right after vacation period, we can get it back to council by the 22nd. Any questions on the timeline or the changes before I go on?
I think there may be questions on several things you mentioned.
Sure.
I got two or three before we invite the speakers up here or have a debate about the direction we want to give you. I think we should get some clarification, but if you're not quite done.
I'm not for the public hearing portion, so
Well, let's just.
happy to answer any clarification
Okay.
questions so far.
Let me take the first shot, and then I'll ask others if they got question clarification. Go back a slide. You said, no, one more slide. Members of P&Z can still be appointed to the committee. Now, that's interesting. So the basic rule is that you can't just make P&Z the committee.
Correct. So
But you could appoint one or more or all of the P&Z members.
you would just have
Council could
to,
if they wanted to.
correct, you would just have to have an equal amount of you would have to have an
I
equal
understand,
amount of
I
members
understand.
that are now
No,
development communities.
I totally
Yeah.
understand that.
So you could have 7 P&Z members of your P&Z plus 7 members of the real estate
Well,
area.
and-
That's a very large committee, I would recommend that, but
I
that's,
understand that, and you probably got some recommendations, but I just wanted to clarify. It's interesting that they still allow us to reach into P&Z to draw people. They could be builders or realtors themselves.
Right.
And count for that total. Okay, if you move ahead, is the IFAC committee, once it's finally appointed, and do they have a very specific charge, or are they allowed to make recommendations on any aspect of impact fees that they may wish to do in their own?
I'm going to try to answer
Well-
part of that question. So they do have a specific charge. They are required to look and provide recommendation and an advisory capacity to council on the land use assumptions, the impact fee, CIP, and the rate. So
Across all three of our,
across all three, water, wastewater, and
so
roadway.
they'd be operating across all three, not specific to one
Correct.
request that the council had, some members of council had made, correct? Once they're constituted, they're gonna operate like you would do at a normal.
Correct. Yeah, the IFAC would function, it would continue to function like it has for years. They would hear all items. So
Okay.
we're about to kick off, as you might remember, we're about to kick off the 5-year update for all 3 of the fees. And so with that 5-year update, we have to go back out. We'll re-up the master plans for water, wastewater. That was on your consent agenda. We'll redo the thoroughfare plan, or re-look at the thoroughfare plan, not redo it, excuse me. We'll look at it again, see if there's amendments. We'll see what's needed in the area, and that'll generate, the comprehensive plan is being updated right now. That generates land use assumptions. That's one aspect they look at. They then look at the impact fee CIP. So that's what we work with the development community on to come up with that process. Additionally, in this bill that I didn't mention, but since it's been opened up, there's a requirement in there now that we have to post the impact fee CIP and land use assumptions. It used to be 60 days, it's now 120 days prior to the IFAC meeting. It's not really an issue for us. In the past, we actually worked with the development community to come up with our current impact fee CIP on the roadway side and et cetera. So we've worked with them through that whole process. It's just a much longer window. So you'll see later on down the road when we get to the actual the contracts and stuff and timeline for making this update. It's a lot longer of a requirement now to get that update through, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the IFAC's duties will be identical. It just we can't basically say, hey, P&Z, y'all are gonna take care of this.
Okay, the last question from me. Creating a new IFAC ordinance. We don't have an IFAC ordinance, so that requires some legal and staff time to develop in concert with the law as it's defined and so forth, correct?
Yeah, the committee ordinance is honestly really easy. Between Leslie and I, we got it. We're pretty good. We'll get it taken care of. But the biggest thing is it does exist right now. So it exists as a one-liner in the UDO that says P&Z, your powers and duties are this. We have to remove that, which is where the notification requirement comes in, and then we just need to write up the ordinance to replace it.
So that's the September 18th and 25th.
Correct. 18th would be P&Z for them because it's a text amendment, and then council for the 25th.
Now, normally, we have applications for positions on city committees.
Correct.
So assuming 30 days, is that what starts on the 26th?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that we'd open up 30 days, 45 days, whatever we would fit in there.
Correct.
For applicants, and they'd have to identify themselves by category, and I understand all
Yep.
that. And then this body would appoint those on November 13th.
Yep.
From all the applicants that we received, okay.
Spot on.
So we've got that period of time fixed in there. I'd had a conversation with the city secretary who normally handles these applications, and so we've got time in there for that.
Correct.
Still looks like a very long time frame, but you gotta live with the law. Okay, I've asked my questions. Let me start with Mr. Wright, go ahead.
Can you just, I think just go back one. I just want to reference it. Yeah, the development community members, that's super, super broad.
I summarized it,
Okay.
sorry. The actual language is this bottom line here, so they must be a representative of real estate development or building industries.
That's still pretty
It's still a little broad, but it's, yeah, I imagine we would use our best judgment and understanding, and we would obviously, they would have to, again, when they make an application, right, they kind of say what their background is, what they do for a living, et cetera. And between staff and council, we would kind of tell you which ones, similar to some other committees we have, right, where if the DRB, you have to have an architectural background, or you have to have a landscape background, or there's different requirements. It's still a little broad, but we would help fit those people into where they could qualify.
And okay. All right, that's fair then. And I guess if you never got enough, although I doubt that would happen, you just couldn't have an IFAC.
Right, we're hoping we would be, in this timeline, the assumption is that we would have about 30 days, and then once we have those 30 days, we would then make it onto an agenda for council, which is about a 10 or so day lead time to get that in there, because they're to get them appointed. And so we've got about 40-ish days for someone to apply and get that in, and so we're hoping we'd have enough applicants, given the size of the committee council's looking for when we make the ordinance. And if we didn't, yeah, we would just wait until we got enough members.
Mr. Smith and then Mr. White.
The other, and can't be a governmental employee, okay, that's also a little bit vague. I mean, school teachers are government employees.
Yeah, you can't be.
Professors are government employees.
Yeah, it is, the exact language is a government official or employee. And so it's, yeah, so like someone of staff couldn't be one, a member of your P&Z couldn't be one. And again, this isn't an or, this is an and. So like, obviously if my profession is I'm a home builder, I'm probably also not a professor at the university. I don't work for the City College Station, right? And so in theory, but let's say I did, I would not qualify as representing one of these 50%. But if I'm a home builder and that's my job and I apply for this committee, I could represent one of the 50% requirements for the development community. Does that make sense?
I think the question is, are not government employees. So the point is, anybody that receives a paycheck from Texas A&M University is a government employee, and therefore they're not qualified to serve.
As this 50% capacity.
No, and are not at 50%. Yeah, but okay.
So if we have a committee of 10 people,
so they could be the other 50%.
Correct.
Oh,
correct.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So
It is not an or, it's an and. If I am a real estate professional and a government employee, I can still actually be on the committee. I just can't count towards your 50% of representing that community.
Now
'Cause
you're
basically,
clarifying.
I thought there's a conflict of interest
All right,
there, right?
all
And so
right.
50% of these people have to be solely vested in the development community
Yeah,
world.
they couldn't be a real estate a specialist for Texas A&M
Correct.
system, for example.
Correct, yeah.
Who might be very knowledgeable, but they're a government employee and can't
And they
serve.
could be on there, they just
I'm
wouldn't,
okay.
if you needed 10 people, they would count towards the other 5, not,
I'm good
not
with
this
that.
5.
Yep. Does that handle your question, Mr. Smith? Mr. Wright? White, I'm sorry.
Go back one more slide if you don't mind. One more. Go to the, there you go, there you go. So my question is just more of a clarification question, just kind of get it on the record. So the very first bullet, you have the approval of the imposition of an impact fee. That means an increase in the impact fees and a reduction in the impact fees, is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So it seems like a lot of requirements to do what you think would be in a positive direction. However, the way that the state wrote their law, they wrote it obviously with the impression people would be raising impact fees, not lowering them.
Right.
And so the law is unanimous across, it's indifferent to either direction. Because again, they wrote it with an intent that no one would ever come in to lower it, that you would assume they would only want to raise it.
That would be the assumption, but I just want to
Right.
make sure that okay, thank you.
I'll go down the line if Ms. McLean has questions.
I just had one comment. It seems like they've kind of set the stage for us to break the cardinal rule of committees, and that's to have a even number of members. So if we want an odd number, the development community would outweigh the lay opinion, correct?
Correct. And so, yeah, I think, I mean, again, if you did a even number committee, again, this is an advisory committee, so no matter what their motion is, if it came to council and it was a 4-4 or a 5-5, you obviously would understand that it was a pretty even consensus that there's no, pull one way or the other. Yeah, there is no consensus. But they don't make motions. They provide an advisory capacity. So it's like the BPG board, right? They don't make any final determinations, but they provide an advisory capacity to council on various items. And so again, if they didn't agree or they didn't have enough voting members to agree, it would still come forward.
And also part of the given is that our impact fee increase that was already on the books is going to hit January 1 no matter what.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Yancey.
Thank you, Mayor. So they may have presumed that the development community would be best positioned to understand the real-world impact of impact fees. I'm sure it was quite purposeful that they put that in
In
there.
legislative wisdom, I'm sure they made their right choice.
I want to start at the headwaters behind all of this.
This is time for questions, not for discussion or debate, okay?
That's exactly what I
All right,
have.
great. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We use the phrase amend in here, an amendment in here. After reading through the law, I thought it used words like imposition, raise, increase. I'm not sure that the word amend was in there, but I stand to be corrected if y'all can find it. How does lowering a fee constitute the imposition of a fee? I did a legal AI search, and it says lowering a fee does not constitute the imposition of a fee. It implies increasing an existing one. Reducing a fee, on the other hand, is generally seen as the opposite action, a decrease in the financial burden on the payer. So where have we reached this conclusion? And I'm not sure, in all fairness, Anthony, it's a question for you or if it's a question for the city attorney. How in the world is lowering a fee the imposition of a fee?
Yeah, I can certainly let Adam speak. We talked at length about this back and forth. And so there actually is a section in the Code of Local Government that talks about amendments specifically. It's not part of this bill. It's in the existing section of the Local Government Code, talks about amending the fee, specifically uses amending and how you go about amending. What it does is it points back to the original section about putting a fee in. So, or what would you envision as putting a fee in for the first time? So when you go to adopt an impact fee, when you go down to the amendment section, it points you back up to that same section, which that's what this bill amended. This bill amended how you notify and how you go about that process, but there is specific language that we do and that's required by the state law in a lower section of the Local Government Code that talks about, when we make notices, it's about an amendment to an impact fee, et cetera. And so when it talks about impose, impose just means to apply a fee. And so had they talked about, raising or lowering or whatever, and they had specified that, Again, I don't think there was ever an assumption that someone would come to amend to lower their fee. So it wasn't, when they wrote this bill, it likely was an oversight, or they didn't think about that being what they were trying to stop. But there is a section later on that talks about that amendment process, and it directly says you follow this other section.
And the motion that was made by my esteemed colleague was to strike roadway fees, to eradicate roadway fees, impact fees in there entirely. So my question is, how is the complete eradication of a fee the imposition of a fee? The fee no longer exists.
Councilmember, and you kind of alluded to it, I would say staff's position in working with the city attorney is that this is what it is, and we defer any legal interpretation to them.
I would also just want to clarify too, I think when we had the meeting, the conversation was about setting the collection rate to 0, but keeping it on the books from an update standpoint is what
And keep in mind that that motion was ruled
not eligible for that meeting.
not appropriate for that meeting, so it was never voted on.
And so what about that? What about suspending, leaving the fee alone, but this body making the decision to suspend the collection of impact fees?
Yeah, that would be a question for Adam.
Yeah, I think still the most conservative view of looking at this new law and trying to navigate it is if you suspend it or set it at 0, you're still imposing a fee. It's just a different fee. So we talked about it at length with Anthony. Said that going back to it and setting it 0, you're still imposing a fee. It's still there. It's just we're still following the same procedure. I don't think you can interpret a different procedure for something that's not in there. I think if the legislature wanted to be a little more clear in their intent, they could have said imposition of an impact fee by raising it or adopting it.
So what's a moderate position on this? Not like the most conservative. What's a moderate position?
Well, I think when you're looking at this, looking at it conservatively, looking at the language, if you instead lowered a fee to a different number, and you look at it and it's requiring 2/3 vote, well, the folks that just paid a higher fee last year could come in and say, well, hey, wait a minute, why is it a lower percentage to go backwards? I just paid this fee. It should be a higher percentage. I want everybody else to pay the same fee.
No,
So there
but
could be an
like from a
argument made
legal,
for that,
a
too.
legal standpoint, what is a moderate interpretation of it? I mean, I understand the logistics within the city, but we've made decisions not to refund fees before. Take the roof fees. They were imposed, staff time was consumed, therefore the roof fees were not retroactively refundable just because we eliminated the roof. So what is a moderate interpretation of that? Conservative is imposition means.
Well, I mean, this is
one
our
city
recommendation
attorney
of what the statute means. Council can take that recommendation and vote another way if they choose to interpret it another way. This is our recommendation on what this language means.
And what are the legal ramifications of, who comes after us for lowering a fee? What if we just do
I
it?
think it could be somebody that
Just
may have
paid
paid
it.
a higher fee and expects there to be a higher burden to lower it.
So it would be individuals that have previously paid the impact fee, but we would deal with that even after going through this laborious process to amend it, right? We're still gonna have people that complain. That's the moral hazard of imposing fees like this to begin with, by the way.
I think
is
the
at some
general
point,
answer is
at some point, to move them or amend them, somebody was left without a chair after the music stopped.
I think the general answer is in any situation that council takes action, and if it's challenged as to whether or not you followed a legal process, anyone can challenge that. So anyone who feels they're aggrieved, whether they have paid a fee or not, can say that you didn't follow the process right. But that, again, you have a legal recommendation, and then you can move forward with it. And if you pass something, whatever it is, this or something otherwise, and by a simple majority, and somebody wanted to challenge it, then they could challenge it.
My last question, and with a preamble that the city attorney knows I like and respect his legal prowess, it is significant. I have a question for Ross. How many attorneys does the state have on the Legislative Review Council that looks at legislation before they publish it? It's quite a few, isn't it?
A lot.
There's one assigned
lines to each bill that is written, but there are dozens who work for the state.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Schaefer?
Is this the last slide in the deck?
It is not.
That's
This was
what I
just on
thought.
the.
I'd like to hear the rest of the presentation, Anthony.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted clarification questions on what we've presented so far. So with that, again, the request was to go forward with setting a date to get the collection rate to 0. And so I just want to walk through again, kind of impact fee collections to date, so council has an idea of what it is, that if you set that rate to 0, what does that mean for the city? What does that mean that you need to consider long-term? So as a reminder, these are the 4 different zones that impact fees are divided up into currently for roadway. We're not talking about water sewer, that wasn't the request, we're specifically talking about roadway. So these are the 4 different zones. You know, a couple key things in A, right, is gonna be City Hall, Wolfpen Creek, Summit Crossing subdivision that you'll hear later tonight, Crescent Point. Area B has things like Mission Ranch, Northgate obviously being a big one, and we'll cover that some more in a sec. Texas A&M is in Area B, et cetera. C is where you're seeing most of your development pressures outside of, your C and D are your main development pressures. You've got Greens Prairie Reserve down in here. The Wyndham Track is a property that's on the move, starting to make some headway. There's a rezoning application in with the city that'll be coming forward to council here in the near future for areas in Area C. And then D, of course, you have things like Midtown, Pebble Creek, et cetera, as well as Animate Habitat, which is a large, about 1,200 acre piece that abuts Southern Point, which is outside of these areas. So again, just to orient you a little bit in some key developments going on in these different areas. So to recap again, the current impact fee program as it is you can see here, the last 3 columns are the columns that you've seen from staff a number of times. The far left is our max adopted rate, and then you have our collection rate. And so again, these collection rates are per service unit. So for a home, there's a vehicle mile factor that's multiplied by these that generates the actual fee that comes out of it. So ignoring those the 3 on the left, again, the 3 on the right are the ones you've heard me mention multiple times. In the impact fee CIP, which as a reminder is only projects that are in that impact fee CIP. That's not the whole thoroughfare plan. That's not every project we need. That's not rehab projects. That's not minor collectors. It's only major collectors and above. So it's not even all the things we need to do. That total cost of roadways alone is $215 million. What we think as a city what we would be able to recover, at the maximum assessable rate is about half that. So again, that means about half of that cost would be attributed to existing growth. Half of it is attributed to new growth, which is what impact fees are designated to collect. And then the far right column is what we assume as a city we would collect in between 2021 and 2031. And that's an important delineation.
At our current collection rate.
That's with our current increase schedule. So again, January 1, it'll go up to its final increase. And I think I have those in a second. I'll show you. But again, what we assume we'd be able to collect is about $24 million across all the zones. So this is, spoiler alert, a little bit early before your semi-annual report for roadway. This is collected fees per fiscal year. So everything you've seen up until the last 2 columns on the right, you've seen before. That's part of your semi-annual report. The last 2, one of them's a sum total, so it's a little different. But the last one is fiscal year 25 to date when we ran these numbers, or at the end of, we ran them through the end of July. This is what we've collected so far this year in those different zones. Again, they're broken up by zone on the left-hand side, your totals on the bottom. What we've collected in impact fees total from inception, again, 2016 was when we adopted them. They were $0 the first year, so there was no collection. And then they ramped up slowly. We updated them in 22. And there was, again, a phase-in approach the last 3 years for the roadway side. So we've collected right south of $10 million in total fees so far to date, year to date, or inception to date. The impact fee capital improvement plan, this is our expenditure. So again, going back to that financial audit requirement, this is the funds that we've gathered that we've been able to spend that are related to capital improvement projects within the impact fee CIP, specifically to roadway. So we've been able to transfer out of the impact fee CIP, or the impact fee funds, about $3.3 million. The developers have done about 855. Some caveats in there, because so like Midtown, for instance, Midtown has an impact fee credit agreement that was done originally prior to the update in 22. Midtown's in working with the developer, that road got removed off the impact fee CIP. So it actually doesn't count towards these calculations anymore. It's not even on the impact fee CIP anymore. City funded, so this is city dollars. This is outside of impact fee funds. This is your tax dollars. This is either your cash on hand if it was used at that time for that purpose, or it was some level of bonding we did to make up the difference. So right around $90 million. And again, this is only the projects that are associated with the impact fee CIP. So if it wasn't an impact fee project, it still had a cost, still had a price tag, just it doesn't make this list. And again, this is from inception of roadway impact fees back in 2016. So this slide, I'm going to walk you through it, is goes over what we've captured in fees per zone, and then what we think we're going to recapture. So what I've done here, and I'm going to ask you to focus. There's a lot of numbers, I apologize, but focus on the far right-hand column for me, and I'll walk you through it. So again, we just went over, we've collected right south of $10 million in total fees across all the zones as of end of last month. When we do the impact fee study, it's a 10-year rolling clock. And so we update that every 5 years. Like I said, we're about to update that again. And that when we get around, the 10-year clock will move. And so we make assumptions and we make assumptions on growth, and we make assumptions on what projects would be needed to accommodate that growth in the impact fee CIP and land use. And as what we also do in that same timeline, which is on the other slide, we assume how much we anticipate via the growth, what would we capture at our current rate. So we're assuming a growth, we're assuming a project need. If that growth happens, what do we get paid? Our total recapture we're assuming per the impact fee CIP, again, was on a previous slide, is the 23.9 up to 2031. The next column, the $40 million, that is, I went through every project that I know about personally. So that could range from something that has a permit they could pull tomorrow morning, but they haven't paid their fees, to something that has had a lot of they haven't quite gotten through preliminary plan or even the entitlement process. So things like animate habitat, the Wyndham Tract, some things that are in the pipeline that we know for sure are on the horizon. If you total all those up, it's about $40 million that we would be looking to collect over some period of time. So obviously, right, Wyndham Tract, animate habitat, those are large pieces of property. They're going to take probably 10, 15 years to fully develop. But to give you an idea of what those might accumulate in total fees, it's about $40 million that we would no longer be collecting. Additionally, this is only residential projects that I know about. So if we had a high-rise come in tomorrow morning on a property that I'm not aware of, that's about $1 million, give or take, depending on the nature of that high-rise. So that's to put it into perspective for you how quickly that number could change based on what happens. And again, a commercial development, for reference, an HEB is about $120,000 in a roadway impact fee that they would pay. For about 110,000 square foot HEB, it's about $120,000 that they would pay as a roadway impact fee. So take that into kind of a mindset when you think about this is not including commercial development across the city. You can take that into account. It's not nearly as much because the council has never increased the collection rate on commercial since the inception of impact fees. It stayed the exact same since 2016, but it is certainly less, and there was rationale behind what council did back then, and happy to talk through that. The next line, the second to the bottom, the right under 15 million, that is a for sure number that I am 95% confident we would collect by 2031. So taking out some of these large developments that we know aren't going to start before that period of time, but they would still be subject to the impact fees in the future. What we know of from today, if you made it zero to into the future to 2031, we would be missing out on right around $15 million of revenue that we could use on roadway projects if we made the collection fee zero. And so when you would see the semi-annual report from our department at the end of 2031, putting everything together, right now we would project about $24.7 million in total recapture over the lifespan of the current impact fee CIP. There's a lot of numbers. Any questions on that? Okay. Again, with that, just wanted to give an idea to council for the conversation. So to wrap us back up, a couple items that I need for some direction tonight, and again, council's more than happy to discuss at their leisure. the biggest thing that no matter what you decide, no matter what your imposition is on the legal advice from the city attorney, et cetera, we have to have an IFAC. The IFAC is a non-negotiable, doesn't matter what your position is, we have to get an IFAC appointed, and that timeline is baked in no matter what happens. And so I would say priority number one that I need tonight is what do you want that to look like? And happy to provide suggestions if you'd like them. But again, it's a council committee. You're welcome to appoint that how you see fit. Again, the only requirements that you need are listed here, and it's a minimum of 5 members, and 50% of those being, which we would bring that back later, but you need at least 5 members. So the big thing is, what do you want it to be made up of, and what do you want that 50% number to look like? Is it 4 and 4, 5 and 5, something like that? And with that, I'll hush.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Before we have a discussion among council about giving you direction on those specific questions, I do have 2 people who would like to speak to the group, speak to the council, and I'll call them now if you will stand by, and I'm sure you'll be back up here again. Mr. J.T. Lattimore is first, and be followed by Lloyd Davis. Welcome.
Hello, how are y'all?
Good.
All right. Are we ready? I guess. Okay. Mayor and council members, on behalf of the Greater Brazos Valley Builders Association, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to provide my input on the decisions regarding the upcoming city budget. We appreciate your continued engagement with the stakeholders in our community and encourage your...
Sir, is this about the budget or is this about the impact fee?
It's about the impact fee.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Dedication to the policies and encourage the responsible growth while maintaining affordable housing. As considering the upcoming workshops, we encourage the council to consider reducing the roadway impact fees to 0. We believe that it would have minimal impact on the 2025 and 2026 budget. It appears to only one item in the budget that would have a immediate effect on housing prices. Our members believe this step will help ease the financial burden on residential, commercial, and prompt economic development and support the continued investment in the community. We also understand that SB 1883 will take effect September 1st, 2025, which brings significant changes to the composition and responsibility of the IFAC. In particular, the new law requires that 50% of the IFAC members be professionals in the real estate and development building industry. The Builders Association is eager to be a resource in identifying qualified individuals from our membership who can serve and continue to contribute meaningfully to the committee. We already have had meaningful conversations with the city staff regarding the upcoming changes to the codes. The codes directly impact our industry and implement costs to our home buyers. The Builders Association has several members that are very involved in the discussion at the state and the national level, and these codes and wants to the resource in the city, especially before the red tag is issued on the job. We've worked on trying to educate our members. We value the city's willingness to collaborate with us in the industry. We make a recommendation that you reach out to us, but we also want in that committee somebody that is on the affordable housing side, multifamily side, and the custom build side, so it's not just one type of builder. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lattimore. Mr. Lloyd Davis.
Good evening. I'm speaking, I'm from Pebble Creek, but I'm speaking tonight on behalf of CSAN, where I'm a board member. I understand that, while impact fees are being debated, before a process is put in place or changes are made, I'd hope that we'd have a very clear, defined measurement of success. What are we trying to achieve with measurements in place so that we can see if, in fact, we're moving the needle in that direction or not. And this is true of impact fees, other fees, including parkland fees. It includes other incentives. But while we're doing that, I also want to emphasize 3 groups of families or individuals that I'd like particular attention to in setting these goals. One is our lower income families. There's a subset of these individuals, these families, that are close to home ownership, but can't quite get there. there is an opportunity to impact that group. There is no greater wealth-building tool in the United States than home ownership. If we can help some of those people, some of those families own a home, we're going to change a family tree, and we're going to change future generations. Secondly, entry-level homes for young professionals that may not truly be defined according to our governmental standards as low incomes, but perhaps dual income families that any change and they're in trouble, help at that first home to be more achievable, which hopefully will give us a workforce to attract more jobs and businesses, and small businesses will attract larger businesses, and larger businesses will give us a more diverse base, economic base in the community that is long-term good for us. And the last group, and the one that we talk about but don't really mention, is affordable student housing. If there's no affordable student housing, there will be no affordable housing in College Station for anyone. The high-rises are great. They're great for the tax rolls. They serve a certain market, but they're not affordable student housing. There's a large group of demand for that, and we've got to think beyond high-rises, beyond impact fees. Perhaps redefining the way we look at middle housing could be a key. And if we need more flexibility in how we approach things like impact fees, let's work together with our state government officials and say, hey guys, if we're going to get where we need to go, we need your help in this. Instead of having them come to us and tell us where we're wrong, let's go to them and tell them where we need to go. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Good ideas. Keep in mind, as you know, as all of you noticed, this is a very long process. Tonight, we're only considering how to form this IFAC committee, but those ideas will definitely come to the fore, and the IFAC committee will be involved in certainly advising us, and we'll be making decisions, but not very soon, apparently. Thank you very much, both of you. Appreciate the presentations, and I think we've all taken note of your ideas. Okay, we're back to the agenda, which is asking for direction regarding the size of this committee. Sounds to me like pretty much defined with respect to the membership. At least 50% of it's defined. I guess I'd be interested in just speaking to those 4 items up there. Do you think 5 members is enough, or should we just stay with 9, or should it be an even number, going back to Ms. McElhaney's conundrum there? Have an even number, 8, 6, 10, or do we want an odd number? So let me start with if Mr. Schaefer is prepared to make any comments. I'll start at that end of the dais and work our way this way. We're just providing sort of ideas about how to coalesce around a recommendation here.
Not sure if I have a good opinion for it at this point, Mayor.
You don't want to, you want to wait your turn? Okay, Mr. Yancey, you always got an idea.
Thank you, Mayor.
Probably got it written down.
I've made some notes, yes, sir. I think we're going to need minimally, as JT recommended, a cross-section of the builder-developer community. And what would that be? That'd be a developer, it'd be a home builder, and I guess somebody maybe from multifamily. I mean, that's 3 apartments. That's 3 right there. Since there seems to be a strong concern among my colleagues that I don't share, that they'd be absolutely equal industrial representation. That gives you 6 people. You could go to 7, but I guess we just need to identify what cross-section of the builder-developer community do we want represented, and that will drive the number on.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think we need to make sure it's large enough so they got a good cross-section, which Mr. Lattimore was referring to. There's not unanimity among the membership of that builder-developer realtor community. So you've also got realtors in there you didn't mention. So there are, I would think, you'd need to have a little larger number, not necessarily 5. But anyway, I speak out of turn, so any other comments?
No, sir.
Ms. McElhaney?
So I think 8 may be a good number, just off the cuff. Real estate agent or real estate professional, a commercial developer, multifamily developer, and then a home builder would be my initial thoughts. As for the remaining 4, I think members of P&Z absolutely can contribute a valuable insight, and I would have no problem with a subset of those folks being appointed. I think it would be invaluable to have at least one for sure, just so there could be some carryover and some discussion. But I think it can be relatively flexible. I would want to make sure that the other 4, to keep it balanced, I don't want to create an adversarial group, but I think it's important that everyone's views be heard on this, regardless of what they are. So I'd like to make sure that we have no more than 4 of each, if that makes sense.
Did you, we didn't really talk about if a current P&Z member decides to apply, or even if you want to encourage them to, is that a problem for you?
No, I think our P&Z is exposed to a lot of good information that will prove, as a matter of fact, it might be nice to hold at least one spot for a P&Z member, and then there could be more than that potentially, but I would like to see members of the community in it as well.
Mayor, just real quick, if I could provide some guidance. So just as a reminder, the council could direct that 4 members of P&Z or 1 member of P&Z or the chair of P&Z must be that you can appoint that member automatically as a member of that board. And so
without their application?
Right, they don't have to apply. You can appoint them. We would ask them for recommendations, same thing we do for like DRB or other boards that they chair. So if council wants to ensure there's a P&Z member, for instance, the chair, you could do that.
I would say the chair or their designee on the board. Isn't that how it's set up for DRB or CBA?
It's set up for DRB, and then for like things when we did like the CPEC committee, right? That's a member of 3 and 3, and they recommended members, but that committee was formed with the intention that it would be 3 members of P&Z, period. Not if they applied, not whatever. You can make that determination. And then just as a reminder, when you talk about the development community, I would encourage you to leave the application process of that as for the makeup of the actual ordinance to be the same within state statute. Otherwise, you're pigeonholing yourself to, I have to have a home builder, I have to have a real estate agent. So if you're familiar with DRB, right, we have some issues where sometimes we don't get that particular applicant that actually applies, and it ends up creating an issue there. And so while you can certainly, when you make your determinations, you can do that, I would caution you from putting that in the ordinance language. It's going to pigeonhole you a little bit.
I'm pretty sure. JT, do you think there's going to be a problem staffing this with those types of members? Is he still here?
I don't think it'll be a problem, but it is. How the committee goes.
I'm just saying, are we going to have a shortage of applicants?
No.
From the development real estate community? No. Okay, I don't think that particular concern is going to be one that we have to deal with here.
And I agree with you. I don't think there's a concern. I just want to make sure that when you make this, I don't want you to pigeonhole yourself into saying, I have to have these individuals. If, let's say, someone came in and you had a group that you said, hey, this guy has a really good knowledge, but this is his background, then unless you already have someone else in that spot, he can't now apply or she can't now apply for that position. And that would pigeonhole you into that request.
I just think the goal is to keep
leave
it from
broad.
being skewed anyway. I really think we need a
Right.
diversity of thought in here to get the best advice. If that is what this committee set up to do, is to give advice. I think the more diversity we can have within it, I don't know if it needs to be codified that way, but as a council, maybe that's something we need to consider.
Well, yeah, that would certainly be a factor in my voting with respect to prioritizing of the 20 applicants. 5 of them, or say there's going to be 8 altogether, 4 of them have got to be certainly qualified in the categories. But yeah, I think we make that judgment at the time. Mr. White.
Well, I agree with all the comments that have made, especially with the composition. And so my comments are going to be more from an organizational perspective. I think that I'm a big believer that you have to have an odd number, but in this case, since we have a 50% mandate there, I think 8 total members on the committee could get a good representation from our development community and be a functional committee and provide some good recommendations. So I recommend 8.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Wright?
All right. It should be 8 folks, 4 of which obviously from the development community. I wouldn't want to necessarily pigeonhole with direct language, but with respect, I totally agree with Melissa. I think that is probably the swath we would shoot for those 4, but not to pigeonhole us into where if some reason 1 year, 5 years from now, we don't get a multifamily developer and we're hosed, right? So, because this year we'll be fine, but 5 years down the line, it might not be. The other 2 should be 2 members of P&Z, the chair, and someone else we appoint. And then it should continue to be the 2 ad hoc. We should have community members represented as representative, perhaps from something like CSAN or I don't know if like Habitat falls under the development or not, but someone who would have a say, because ultimately, if there's something that we decide to do, which we have not decided one way or another at this point, it's not a foregone conclusion whether or not we're eliminating roadway impact fees. If we did, that could potentially put a tax burden on the community writ large, because someone's going to have to pay for roads that we build. So it is fair to say that someone from the community, 2 people from the community, should have a say in this. So I put my money on 2 from P&Z, 2 community members, and then 4 of the development community so that we can meet the requirements. I'd also like to take one step further, if it's all right, and just say that I believe the application for this needs to have a question where the applicant has to explain what an impact fee is, how the city uses them, and how they affect the taxpayer. Because I think that if you don't have a grasp on what an impact fee is, you shouldn't be on this committee.
Should there also be questions on how it impacts a first-time home buyer?
That's up to you.
Let's leave that one for the moment. Let me finish with Mr. Smith, and we'll come back.
Well, I appreciate all the comments. Councilperson McElhaney in particular, I agree. We need to pay close attention to the diversity of the committee makeup. And I like the idea of 2 P&Z members and 2 ad hoc from the community. I hadn't thought of you got to display some knowledge of what impact fees are all about to be on this committee, and that's I think that's wise. I also think that in order to make impact fees be an effective tool, it goes to pay for capital costs, and it reduces the tax burden on the general public. But if we totally got rid of the impact fee, then what do we use as an incentive for the development of affordable housing as opposed to unaffordable housing? I think that you have to have a fee in place so that you have something that you can give on in order to incentivize something. So, but that's a separate debate. So I'll stop there.
That's right. Thank you very much. Mr. Schaefer, now back to you. Do you have anything further to kind of help us put some sideboards on this?
Well, no, I mean, thank you for letting me wait, Mayor. I believe that, I think that my fellow council members have articulated it nicely. I think I'm generally in agreement with what William had to say and Melissa in terms of 8. I actually had 8 in my notes. It was nice to see it all down the line. It was 8, so I should have gone first, I guess. But anyway, I also would point out that, William made this point about people needing to have some kind of understanding of what they're doing to be on a committee like this. If I recall, when I applied for P&Z last, I had to exhibit some kind of understanding of what the comprehensive plan was and what some other things were. So we've got that built in already, and I think it's very reasonable. Even if you don't know when you apply, you ought to go look, and you can figure that out. So that particular rule I have no problem with.
Okay, I guess I'll add my thoughts. I would go with 8 or 9. 8 seems to be a good common number. Going all the way to 10 sounds like a little bit bigger than necessary, but I'll settle on the 8, which other people have suggested. I don't think I would reserve specific spots for P and Z, but I would certainly keep that in mind as a possibility to appoint 1 or 2 members from P and Z once I see the array of applicants. So I'm certainly positive about somebody from P and Z being on there. I would think, I don't want to box myself in too much on that. At least that wouldn't be my view. So I think it's great that we can have some members of P and Z on there. They just can't be the committee with a couple other people. And so that's fine. That's how the legislation's written. I think if we have 8, then you've got for sure at least 4 spots for that category of home builders, developers, realtors, and so forth. So that ought to probably give them enough diversity in that so that working with them and making sure we get the applicants from the appropriate categories there, that we can certainly represent them better by having 8 than 5 or 6. So what I hear, and you got a consensus maybe better than I do hear a consensus regarding the size of 8. I do have a bit of a question. I don't mind Mr. Wright's suggestion, endorsed by others, to have an application statement that sort of says what do you think, or what do you understand about impact fees. But it seems to me you're going to have at the beginning of this a tutorial. I mean, you're going to spend some time giving them all the information they will need to fully understand what it is they're dealing with.
In all fairness, Mayor, I've been involved in this for about 4 years now, and it's only in the last probably year that I feel like I've got a handle on it. It's a big concept.
But I understand, but let me just finish. I don't want a set of questions there which will automatically rule people in or out because they're in favor of something or they're not in favor of something. So I don't want to get it down to some specificity level where somebody either has to say, well, damn, I can't answer that question honestly because I know I won't get selected. And so I don't want it to be, I don't want it to presume how they will engage in making a recommendation ultimately. Obviously, I think something about their general knowledge and understanding of the role of impact fees, I don't have a problem with that. We do it for, as the point was made, for P&Z. We do ask them to provide us a short statement to answer 2 different questions, I believe. So I'm okay with that, but I'd be real careful about how you frame those application questions when you did that. Where else have we got a strong opinion that this is not the right direction?
If I can take a stab real quick, just to make sure I know. So 8 members, seems we're all in agreement. I'm hearing a general consensus of 2 P&Z, at least 1. So when I bring it back, you can discuss it more than 1 or 2. The remainder of that 4 would be the ad hocs. And I'll present to you a question or 2 that's kind of a general ask on the application about what is your understanding or knowledge of use of impact fees and how does that affect the environment or that we live in. And that's really all I got.
My only problem with forcing the number of P&Z members is that you're excluding, therefore, other citizen applicants who may be very well informed. And there's some of them sitting in this audience that could be very well informed on this subject. And that's the only reason we'll debate that a little further when you come back with a.
So I'll bring it back with a recommendation. I'll bring it back as it can be either 0 to 2 P&Z members, and you can have a discussion then, and whatever you decide, we'll make that the ordinance.
Maybe Mr. Wright can convince me between now and then that we should have 2. Okay. Any comments on that? Any further?
Just, I think, on the qualification questions, that it is important that how those are worded be, representative of capturing the awareness of their knowledge on both sides of the issue.
There's more than two sides. There's really more than two sides of the issue, so. it's
Yeah,
a-
we'll craft something that's more open-ended, and it could be, I mean, again, because you could have a citizen who has a, broad understanding, but what is their view of it, or what does that mean for them, could certainly be something council considers. So we'll try to word it, and you'll see it before you adopt it, obviously, it'll be in
Well,
your
yeah, I
packet.
would-
And we'll try to make it a very broad question that can be answered in a number of ways, not just, I'm a builder, I'm a neighborhood person. It can be, you can kind of gauge their prowess on it in that response.
Can you bring those questions back when you bring
Yes. Yeah.
on the 18th?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
May I ask a question that harkens back to a prior discussion? It's not a leading question and it's brief.
I know, please, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This whole process that you lined out for us goes into effect when?
The IFAC piece?
Yes.
September 1.
So we meet on August 28th. Is it possible that a prior motion that we decided not to entertain because it was the wrong time could be made on the 28th before this law goes into effect?
It is not,
eliminate
because
the fee?
even under current law, you're required a 30-day notice, and you have to still have an IFAC. And so in order to even make them meet, and we looked at that, in order to even make them meet, we wouldn't have been able to get something even if like we had scrunched everything possible together, that would have happened after the September 1 kick. So that would have become an adoption after the September 1 kick, and we would have been out of compliance with the process.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Anthony.
But trust me, I don't want the process that long either, so I tried.
Thank you for your presentation. I know we have another agenda item on the regular agenda.
So real quick, last thing I do need is just a confirmation that council's wanting to set and look to target a January 22nd to hear an item on the motion that wasn't an actual viable motion, given the context. I guess we would need that as a direction that you want to still hear that.
I would love to voice it again on that date.
You would what? I'm sorry.
I was just, my individual,
Concurring?
I would like for my motion to be able to be heard and actually debated and voted on. So
But
I
your
support-
motion cannot be.
No, but I'm saying on
Oh.
January 22nd.
Well, on January 22nd, we will receive a report, correct?
No, so I need, this timeline is if you want to set the impact fee collection to 0, which was the original motion, we need direction from council as a majority to set that date, to make that process started. And so again, the previous, when we had the conversation, it wasn't on the agenda, it couldn't be discussed. So now we need to set that timeline.
All I'm interested in is receiving an IFAC report, which would certainly include the continuation or non-continuation of all of our impact fees, presumably, and a report on the whatever it is they're asked to analyze. And I would think that
I think the first
idea
thing
would be
we need to
voted on.
do is set the IFAC committee. And then, I mean, that process can go from there as fast as council wants. Obviously, the January 22nd is that, but that's the first thing that needs to happen. Right now, we don't even have anywhere to take it.
Right, but
So we can kick the can down the road, guys. So in order to set the impact fee, we have the last 3 bullets or the last 3 columns. That is precedented on the fact that you are saying we want to have a hearing at a regular meeting to set the collection rate to 0. The other first 3 bullets have to happen no matter what. The last 3 are if you make that decision as a majority to go forward with that.
I thought you said earlier that this IFAC committee is appropriate for the mid 10-year review, that you would need an IFAC committee anyway.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. The first 3 parts of this timeline have to happen no matter what. But the request that generated this item partly was the need to try to get in front of council a regular item to hear a request to make it 0. So in order to do that, we need to hear from council that that's the direction you want to take this.
So you wanted something from us, Anthony, that says we want to aim for January 22nd.
Correct. You want to have a public hearing on January 22nd, or target January 22nd. You want to have a public meeting in the future to have a hearing on setting the collection rate to 0, which is essentially what Councilmember McElhaney's motion was. It just wasn't a viable motion in the context of that meeting.
I applaud your knowledge and the research, and I thank you for everything that you did on this. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be rendered moot, given who's watching from Austin tonight. I suspect in the second special session, this issue about being able to lower the fees will be addressed in legislation then. So we can revisit it if that happens.
Well, that's fine, and that'd be good if we get clarification on that, but since I'm not, at this point, until I get some recommendation otherwise, in favor of setting the roadway impact fee at zero, so if you're
This is not the
forcing me
meeting in
to.
which to debate that. That's not the meeting in which to debate that. And every time it's come up, the
I know,
can gets
but
kicked. I would like to have a date on the calendar that on January 22nd, we will have the opportunity to debate it.
You've got 6 other people that can agree to that.
I'm just
if they do.
asking for the opportunity for it to be discussed and modified. We have, again, every time it has been brought up, it has been a issue that we can't discuss at this meeting because of this. And I just would like the opportunity for us to discuss it. There are at least 3 of us on the council that have not had that at all.
I understand that, and you got 6 people here who can agree with you, and if they do, then we'll do exactly as Mr. Armstrong has suggested. Yes, Mr. White.
So, Mr. Armstrong, I agree that the 22nd is a good one, but give me the details of the post-fee amendment. If we appoint the members on November 13th and the 60-day goes into effect that day, what is that post-fee amendment without the actually meeting?
So we have to post in advance that there will be an amendment to the fee.
Okay, so
we were required by state law for an amendment to post 60 days in advance.
Okay, so we're not posting any amendment, you're just posting that there will be amendments to
Right.
the fee.
We would be posting an agenda item that's required by state law. It says there that the City of College Station will be hosting a meeting to hear an amendment to the impact fee, and that amendment would be based on council direction that I'm asking for now, would be if the request is still to set it to 0.
Okay, so
'Cause we
so
would
we're
have
not
to take that
talking any
forward.
dollars, we're just talking time frame.
Correct, right now,
Thank you.
yeah.
I would highly support that motion that we do it on the 22nd, which, if I understand the timeline, is the earliest that we can have it done.
Correct.
Mr. Smith?
I'm fine with having a discussion about it. In fact, I think this council needs to have a discussion about it. And
Okay,
so
thank you.
If the 22nd is the soonest we can do it, then let's do it.
Great, Mr. Wright? You agree to have it? I mean, it doesn't mean how you have to vote at the time.
Sure.
I think.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like you got what you need and what
Thank
Ms.
you.
McElhaney's asked for.
Yeah. All right,
Very
so
good.
we'll bring back on the 18th, just to wrap us up. No, we've been here a long time, sorry. I'll bring back an ordinance for you on the 18th. That'll be to set the new IFAC with the parameters that we discussed tonight. I'll bring that to P&Z on the 18th, you on the 25th. We'll post for IFAC members. We'll get appointments. Once we have appointments, we'll bring it back to you on the 13th. We'll post immediately then for a notice 60 days prior for the IFAC to meet. The IFAC will meet around January 15th, give or take a couple days, and then we'll bring this back to council with their recommendation and for your action and discussion on setting the collection rate to 0 on January 22nd.
Okay, I do have a question, and as long as we got that agreement and you're all done. And you made a second part of the presentation, which I think is worthy of taking a look at. And I got a question. Go back to the very first one of those, right there. You're in here, recoverable cost at the current rate is 23.9 million of recoverable under our current, or actually enhanced, amended amount on January 1. Where does that money go to? Does that go into the general revenue?
It does not, yeah. It is specifically earmarked. So every impact fee zone, each of these 4
For capital
zones.
projects.
Yes, so
okay.
in the back of your budget book, and you'll see in the capital section, if there is an IF next to each project line, that means it's an impact fee eligible project. It means that we can use funds if it is within one of these areas for roadway. Water, wastewater is across the board, but for roadway, if it's in one of these areas and it's on that list and it has an IF, it means it's on the impact fee CIP. And these funds are collected into 4 different pots. Each of those 4 different pots is what we look at to see how much money is in there in each zone, and we pull from those pots as they become available to fund impact fee projects or to back fund if something was under a bond right now and it was used to increase capacity.
Okay, but if there was no IF, you couldn't draw on that.
Correct. So like if
you'd do what with those capital projects?
it would have to be funded in some other fashion. So it could be a tax rate increase, it could be a bond election, it could be done with GOs or COs, whatever
But again,
other.
out of.
Out of the general fund.
Out of the general fund.
Correct.
This is not like water and wastewater where you've got an enterprise.
Correct.
This is general fund, which means it's got to be supported if they borrow the money
Right.
by increasing the debt or
Right, by
offsetting
the tax
some
rate.
other projects to get that project done.
Correct.
So
We-
it really boils down to how much money you have to pay for roadway capital projects in those 4 areas.
Correct.
And you'd have $23 million less to do it if you went to zero.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Can you give us a data point in these slides? We keep getting these same slides, and they're a little bit eye-crossing. Will you go back real quick to your spreadsheet? In any one of them, can we start adding incidents of collection? Instead of looking at, we need the dollars, obviously, but can we also get incidents? There were 372 impact fees paid year X. There were 423 paid year Y.
Oh, my staff's going to hate me for that, but we can do it. Yeah, I think we can pull that in that fashion if council wants that. Because again, the way it's all permanent through an online system, right? So we can probably run some level of report. The way that we report these numbers is it gets collected, it gets passed through our Paymentus software, which collects our payment. It goes into finance, and they put it in the appropriate bucket. So we can pull what someone was charged and paid. There's going to be a little bit of caveats in there because actually not part of that 24 million is things that have credits on them. So for instance, there's things in there like Midtown or whatever. It'll be included in the calculus, which is, we'll have to work that out.
I hope I used the right verbiage. I'm looking for how many times somebody wrote us a check for an impact fee, irrespective of the cost, equals 1.
Right.
The next
Okay,
person
okay.
equals 2. Total number of incidents of payments
Sure.
of impact fees.
Yeah. And are you looking that's easy, that's a lot easier. Fiscal year, calendar year, total?
I'd say about the same year as you got here.
Okay.
FYs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we've covered all of that, and we do have two more items on our regular agenda. So if there isn't anything further, you got all the direction you need.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. We appreciate your diligence in helping us through that process. We're moving to the regular agenda. Does anybody need a break? Not seeing anybody. Oh, it doesn't count the city manager. I mean, he can walk out anytime he wants to.
Yeah, we're good over here.
You're good over there? Okay. I think we're good up here. If an urgent need arises, it might be me. You can slip out as needed. Okay, we're moving to the regular agenda. This is items 8.1 and 8.2. Jeff Howell is coming forward, and I'm going to open both items. They'll make a presentation on both items from staff. We can ask questions from council about those items. Then I will ask Planning and Zoning Chair if he's still here to.
He's
not?
ill.
He didn't?
He's ill. Jason's out ill.
Oh, we don't have any P and Z person here?
He's listening online, though.
Oh, okay, well, nobody told me he was not here, so, anyway, we will have then the applicant make a presentation, and then I'll open the entire public hearing. I do have some people signed up to speak, so we will get to those at the appropriate time. Mr. Howell, the floor is yours. Oh, wait, I've got to open both items. Number one, public hearing, presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan, future land use and character map from general commercial to urban residential for approximately 4.648 acres, generally located south of the intersection University Drive East and East Crest Drive. That is the land use agenda item. Then following that is 8.2, public hearing, presentation, discussion, possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Zoning District, Section 4.2, Official Zoning Map of the Code of Ordinances, City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundary from GC General Commercial, R Rural, and T Townhouse to MF Multifamily on 28.855 acres and T Townhouse on 9.385 acres for approximately 38.2 24 acres generally located south of the intersection of University Drive and East Crest Drive, as well as at the terminus of Summit Crossing Lane. I think that is the entire caption, so for both items, please make the presentation.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Jeff Howell with the Planning and Development Services Department. Tonight's request, as mentioned, is for two separate items as they do overlap with one another. So before I begin my presentation, I do want to mention that I'll present what was brought forward before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then I'll end with what the applicant has proposed as a result. So the first item is for a portion of the property generally located south of the intersection of University Drive East and East Crest Drive. As you can see from the aerial, the subject property is currently vacant. Tonight's first request is to change the comprehensive plan future land use map designation from general commercial to urban residential for approximately 4.648 acres of land. The urban residential land use designation is appropriate for a range of high-density multifamily and attached residential development in various forms, and the intent of the urban residential is to accommodate a wide range of multifamily housing and provide vehicular and pedestrian connectivity between developments. So in conjunction with that, the request is for the applicant to rezone approximately 38.24 acres of land generally located south of the intersection of University Drive East and East Crest Drive, as well as at the terminus of Summit Crossing Lane. As you can see from the aerial, the subject property is also currently vacant and includes a portion of the previous request. And so the applicant is requesting to rezone the property from GC General Commercial in conjunction with the future land use amendment that you just heard, as well as an additional GC General Commercial, R Rural, and T Townhouse to MF Multifamily, which is approximately 28.855 acres of land in total, and the remaining 9.385 acres of the property to T Townhouse. And so for comparison, the future land use amendment can be seen here on the left. On the right, you can see the rezoning, both the existing and the proposed. So the applicant is requesting the MF multifamily zoning district for a proposed multifamily development, which would not be permitted under the current zoning districts. And the applicant is also requesting the rezoning to allow for a proposed townhouse development, which would not be allowed under the current zoning as well. Staff has received one phone call of inquiry. We've also received a call and letter in opposition from the adjacent property owner. These items were heard at the July 17th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, where the comprehensive plan amendment was recommended 6-0 for approval, while the rezoning was recommended for approval with the condition that the 4.6 acre panhandle portion, which is associated with the comprehensive plan amendment, be removed. And so as a reminder, in determining the decision for approval with condition or denial, here is the criteria for review of the comprehensive plan amendment on the left and the rezoning on the right. Each of these criteria are outlined in the staff reports for the two respective items. And so as a result of the discussions between the applicant and the adjacent property owners, it appears they have come to a compromise with the area to be amended as shown here. The image is the comprehensive plan amendment with the area known as the panhandle cut in half, which is approximately 2.5 acres being modified. And so this would require a rezoning request for that to be adjusted. And so, which can be seen here with the rezoning request with the panhandle area, which was from GC General Commercial to MF Multifamily being removed, which again is approximately 4.6 acres originally identified in the ordinance as Tract 1. As part of the discussions with the adjacent property owner to the west, the following condition is requested to be required as part of the rezoning ordinance: a 10-foot landscape buffer with an 8-foot fence in accordance with section 7.7.f of the Unified Development Ordinance, as required between GC General Commercial and MF Multifamily uses, to be provided along the western property line of the MF Multifamily portion of this rezoning, also known as Tract 5, adjacent to Lot 1, Block 1, Crescent Point, Phase 1, be provided on the subject property at the time of development. And I can let the applicant speak more to this modification, and that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions of clarification for staff?
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Shaver?
I don't understand, Jeff. So go back a slide. The compromise is on the right?
Correct. So
why does the next slide?
The next slide would be the zoning. So
So the zoning won't apply to that reduced panhandle?
that's correct. If, well, the rezoning request is removing that area from the request. So that whole area is removed. And so if that area were to be rezoned in the future, it would have to come in for another rezoning in order to do so.
I think when the applicant speaks, we'll get a little more clarification on that. No other questions? Okay. Let's see, the order of battle here is, the plan is to ask the applicant to make their presentation. Ms. Morgan, I see your name is listed, but I see 5 other names. Do I call all of them out, or will?
No, we'll start with me, and we'll see if you have any other questions.
Let me just read the names. Chrissy Hartle, Eleanor Vasali, Glenn Jones, Trey Tyler, and Mike Novelli have all signed up to speak, but I gather you are representing the group.
I'll start, and then I'm sure Mike Novelli has a few things that he'd like to state. The other ones may or may not have something to add. You can certainly call them at the time and see if they have something they'd like to add to the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity for me to address you this evening regarding the Summit Crossing Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Rezoning. As Jeff mentioned, this went to P&Z on July 17th, and the P&Z recommended approval of the comprehensive plan amendment, but then had concerns with the rezoning request, in particular with the panhandle. There were concerns with the transportation system and also citizen questions regarding Lone Tree Drive and drainage, and I'll try to address all those this evening. As Jeff stated on this slide, we have come to an agreement with the Adams Corporation, which is the piece of property that is the general commercial red that is to the left of the general commercial and urban residential pod that you see that's outlined in green. In those discussions, what we agreed to is we would try to flip the design of the multifamily residential around a little bit, basically laying that green rectangle on its side. So that's why you're seeing only half of it is urban residential on this comp plan amendment, because that's the only section we need to have amended as part of the comp plan. In answer to Councilman Schaefer's question, you'll see in a slide or two what that looks like with regard to amending that multifamily design. And as part of this, we had to remove Tract 1 as part of our rezoning request, and it'll make a little bit more sense in just a few minutes when you see that slide. So in the case of the comprehensive plan amendment, this slide shows you what our request is for this evening, which is basically half of the request that we had initially. We heard many neighbor concerns and Planning and Zoning Commission concerns at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Suffice it to say that several of these have been discussed with the Adams Corporation group because they were their concerns primarily. And the last 3 on the slide are ones that were addressed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and individuals within the adjacent neighborhood. So I'll address those here in just a little bit. What we're trying to do is reduce the length of that urban residential piece adjacent to the Adams Corporation general commercial property, and we've done so and done it in partnership with discussions with that group. So this particular slide shows you the rezoning request. If you look at Area 1, it is the gold area, if you will, that has the panhandle on it. That is the area of the multifamily that I'm primarily focusing on tonight. We are removing that Tract 1, which is the panhandle piece alone, from consideration tonight. So we're asking council to remove Tract 1 from consideration tonight. That was that's on the rezoning request. We've already talked about the comp plan. The comp plan is just half of what it was, and so that's the request we're making tonight on the comp plan. On the rezoning side, we're asking that Tract 1 be removed from consideration. All the others stand as submitted. So Tract 2 is general commercial to multifamily. Tract 5 is rural to multifamily. All 3 of those tracts make up area number 1, which is the gold area that's all contiguous, that's sandwiched between the red commercial and the yellow. So that's Tract 1, Tract 2, and Tract 5. 1 leaves leaves consideration for tonight. Track 2 and Track 5 remain. Area 2 is the Track 3 and 4, which are the townhouse pieces. Those are the yellow pieces. So Track 3 is general commercial to townhome. Track 4 is rural to townhome. Area 3 is the other gold multifamily piece, which is to the far east of the property. And that's Track 6, and it's going from T townhome current zoning to multifamily. So that's the request tonight. That's the modification that we've made to work with the Adam Corporation team. One of the things that Planning and Zoning Commission did not get to see, and it probably would have made their lives a little bit easier in their discussion had they seen it, and that is the preliminary plan layout. Because one of their biggest concerns was, what does the transportation system look like in this area? Because they couldn't make heads or tails out of where is, and I don't think this works anymore, does it, guys? So their biggest question was, how does this multifamily piece act in conjunction with the thoroughfare system? And so they couldn't see what this Summit Crossing Drive was going to do as it comes through and goes all the way out to 158. And there's a future traffic signal that's part of the that's part of the TIA study with this particular development, with the overall preliminary plan development. So had they seen this, I think it would have answered a lot of the Planning and Zoning Commission's concerns and some of the heartburn that they were seeing. So what we have before you tonight is the blue area. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see the blue and the green that's on the slide? Okay. So the blue area is the part of the panhandle that is being removed from consideration tonight on the rezoning. This was the original layout that we had for the multifamily. So the compromise was to cut that blue area in half and then switch it over to the green area. So the green is a portion of the blue, and then the remainder of it goes all the way out to Summit Crossing Drive. So that's the compromise that was agreed upon. So what will happen, because tonight's consideration for rezoning is only for this piece to multifamily, the outline in red, we will be back before you as quickly as we can with a rezoning of the green piece to make us whole in order to build this multifamily project. Oh, okay. Okay, Chrissy was telling me that on the last slide there was one piece that didn't make it, so let me see if I can erase this.
With all of your experience with the slide, I'm sure you know how to push those buttons there.
Yeah, I know, but I can't find the erase button.
Anthony can find it for you.
Oh, flip it over.
There you go. Okay.
There's no directions that say flip it over.
God bless you.
Yeah, a 12-year-old could have figured that out. So what Chrissy was telling me was the last slide doesn't show this. There is a buffer requirement that we've agreed to as well that's along that property line. And so the 10-foot planted buffer plus the 8-foot wooden board fence that we've agreed to provide along that property line, such that the multifamily such that the general commercial would not have to provide that buffer on their lot. We've agreed in our discussions with Adam Corporation that this is what we will provide on our property in order to not have to burden that general commercial with that requirement.
And that's a condition and a zoning part of it, right?
And Jeff mentioned that in his presentation, yes. So to give you a little bit about this multifamily product, Mike Novelli and Trey Tyler are here tonight, basically representing Cypress Brook Company, and they are based in the Woodlands. They have already developed in town. They developed their Ariza College Station, which is on Harvey Road across from Veterans Park. It's a Class A multifamily development similar to what this will be. It provides housing that's not geared towards students. There's no Bed Bath parity in these units, and so it's really geared for more workforce housing, young professionals, and the like, not geared towards students. To give you some background on, let me go back one. To give you a little bit of background on the last 3 bullet points that were concerns by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the neighbors. One was the transportation system, which we've already discussed, but the other 2 were with regard to detention and drainage. And we do have a detention facility that will be provided for the properties that's here, and it discharges at the low downstream point, which is a channel that's downstream of us. The other big concern by a neighbor that was expressed was what's going to happen to Lone Tree Drive, which is right here, which ends in a dead end at that point. And as you can see, we're putting a cul-de-sac on it, on the end of it, and there'll be 8 townhome lots that front that cul-de-sac. The multifamily will not take access to that cul-de-sac.
The multifamily has access where, 2 places? I know it's a site plan issue, but.
Yeah, we just flipped the site plan around, so we haven't fully vetted it. But right now, and we'll have to meet College Station's ordinances, and we haven't vetted all of that yet. But we have our main entrance on Summit Drive at this location. We have a secondary entrance that takes us out to University Drive through the commercial, and potentially we have another driveway over here if we can meet driveway spacing that would take us into the site. So we'd have 3. We need to have the one that goes out to University Drive because the fire marshal has a certain distance that he's required to enforce on the property, that we have our fire lane separated by a certain distance so that when we're exiting the complex, we don't get everybody bunched up and leaving the site at one location. So I'm going to leave you with this last slide. You've seen this before, but this is basically our request tonight, which was to remove Tract 1 from consideration, and then what all the other tracts requests are for rezoning. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, questions for Ms. Morgan? Mr. Yancey?
Not a question. I just want to thank the 2 parties for getting together and working this out.
Sure.
I think we'll probably hear from the other parties in the public hearing as well to confirm that. Any other questions? If not, is there anybody else, Ms. Morgan, from your group that wants to speak? Chrissy? Oh, okay. Please come forward and introduce yourself. I've listed all the names before, so happy to have you here.
I am Mike Novelli. I'm the founder of Cypress Brook Company, and I know it's getting late here, so just very briefly, we are a 29-year-old company. We've operated out of the Woodlands, Texas, which I believe Woodlands High School continues to be one of the largest high schools sending kids here to A&M, so the drive I took this afternoon is well worn. But we had the privilege, as Veronica mentioned, sort of doing one other project up here just right around the corner. It's currently operated as the name Oakwood. We operated under the name Ariza College Station. We've done another acquisition here a number of years ago. Today we have 2 projects in Temple, 2 projects in Corpus, a number of them in Austin, a number of them in Houston, 2 projects in Lufkin. So we've developed throughout the state, and we appreciate y'all taking some time to consider our project. We would love to build here again. We had good success here in College Station, and we appreciate y'all considering our deal. Thank you.
Are you involved in the Track 6 over there on the far east, or is that a different multifamily?
That is actually, I think, the request is being done by the landowner.
Okay.
And we certainly would hope to be involved in that at some point.
Okay, but that's not.
Right,
not-
correct.
It's just rezoning. Thank
That's
you.
correct.
Thank you. Okay, no other questions from council. I'm going to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing on both items, and I've got 2 people that would like to address the council. I'll call them first, and then anybody else that wants to speak. Mr. Casey Oldham? Mr. Mike Gentry is coming up here first. And Mr. Oldham, probably, having served on P&Z, probably wants to keep his mouth shut.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah, you are. Okay, Mr. Gentry, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Mike Gentry, West Wave, Albritton, and Gentry in College Station, Texas. I'm here on behalf of the Adam Corporation, owns the property next to the applicant's property. And with me tonight is Richard Ruth. who is the General Counsel, Casey Oldham, who you just recognized, along with Matt and Bailey Rose, and Jeff Roberts. So all I really have to say is that Casey and Veronica and others have worked hard at reaching a compromise, and we're very pleased with it and agree with the application, and we'll answer any questions, but I have a long script.
No, we don't
that I
need
don't
the,
have to read.
we don't need the, we don't need the script, but just if you're confirming that what Ms. Morgan presented, and it includes an amendment, not an amendment, what's the word I'm searching for?
Compromise.
No, there's a component regarding the buffer, right?
The buffer and the fence, yes,
Right,
that's a
right.
part of it.
So, and you're in conformance with that as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, and if Mr. Oldham doesn't wish to speak, that's okay too. The public hearing is still open. Does anyone else wish to speak to the council on this item, which includes both the land use? Ms. Vasali, please come forward. Both the land use and the rezoning.
Good evening, Council. Eleanor Vasali, representing the applicant. I know you've seen, and Veronica did a great job of showing you the slides, but I just want to reiterate, because of this compromise, as she mentioned, we will be coming back for that rezoning of that piece. This doesn't work if that rezoning also doesn't happen. So to keep into consideration, there is a part 1 and 2, but they do need to work together. Thank
Right.
you.
And as I understand it, they couldn't present the rezoning of that tonight because of the timing and the fact that
And
the
the tech-
application, the original application.
Correct.
Right. But this
Correct.
gets us partway down the road.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see Mr. Oldham has been motivated. I goaded him a little too much, maybe.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, thank you for tonight. I know it's long, so I'll be brief. We are very appreciative of the compromise. I want to thank staff and Veronica and Summit and Mr. Yancey for their help in this compromise and support. In addition, we will come back, Mayor, as quickly as the applicant can to come in support for the second rezoning, and so I'll be there as well to answer any questions for you and council. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Any other individuals wish to speak in the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn to the will of the council on this item, keeping in mind that we have 2 different votes, one on land use and one on the rezoning, and the rezoning has the word keeps escaping me, a codicil regarding the buffering.
Mayor,
Yes, you want to speak?
just really quickly, I just got a text from Jason Cornelius. He's home with COVID tonight, chair of P&Z, and he said, yes, he said that this this solution answers the majority of the questions that P&Z had during their meeting. So just thought it was worth sharing that.
Very good. Thank you for passing along. I did ask if he would be here tonight, and I guess obviously something else intervened, so wish him a speedy recovery. Did I see any other questions down here or comments? The chair will entertain a motion regarding the land use change.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Yancey. Who seconded it? Mr. Wright seconded it. This is on the land use amendment. All those in favor, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Did you vote aye? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Now we move to the rezoning request, which I think we've been advised has that consideration addition, not just what was presented as the compromise, but the buffer as well. So if someone would wish to make that motion, including that consideration.
Move approval.
Mr. Smith moves approval with the consideration of the buffer.
Condition.
Okay. Did I hear a
Condition.
second?
Second.
I guess I got a second from Mr. Yancey. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for working diligently to get all of this together. Made our evening better, and I know yours as well.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, this brings us to item 9 on our agenda, which is items of community interest. I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of, I don't remember the actual pronunciation name, but Chief Landau, who was chief of the fire department for apparently a record number of years. And I think, did you serve with him? Yes, I did. Okay. So his longtime chief of the fire department, retired in good standing and recently passed away. I just want to make an acknowledgement of our thoughts and prayers for this family and consideration of his great service to the city. Other items of community interest are on the council calendar, which is attached to the handout and is somewhere coming up on the screen. There's the council calendar. Mr. Wright?
This felt like ages ago now, but I had the pleasure of speaking at the Games of Texas, which College Station, the city of Bryan, and A&M hosted 2 weekends ago now, well, at the beginning of the month. And I just wanted to say publicly that, once again, the Parks Department absolutely killed it. There was rain delays, all sorts of stuff, but they do such an amazing job in every aspect of everything they always do. So it's always, we have a wonderful city staff, so just want to give shout out to them.
Very good. On that calendar, I'd highlight August 20th, the Economic Development Outlook briefing. I think quite a few of us are signed up for that event. I think it'll be a worthwhile long luncheon, but we'll have our representatives there and Dr. Jansen as well, I believe, to talk about the economics. Any other comments on the council calendar or community interest items? Seeing none, I'll move to council reports on committees, boards, and commissions. Anybody, Mr. Wright?
Just a brief report as the chair of the the Legislative Engagement Committee. As you know, Ledge is in their special session, which will end, and then another one will start soon. The only thing that came out of our last meeting was a drafted letter opposing. Now my mind's going blank. What do we have that drafted for now?
Oh, this is
now my mind's
House Bill 9,
Yeah.
Senate Bill 9, which passed. Mr. Brady can
mine is now fried.
Refresh your memory.
Yes.
Senate Bill 9 is one.
Yeah, we had two
Yes.
letters on
Yes.
Senate Bill 9 and Senate Bill 12. Senate Bill 9 is the property tax bill, which is referenced earlier this evening. That would take the voter approval rate from 3.5% to 2.5%. And then Senate Bill 12 has to do with community censorship.
Yes, and now I see my notes right here where I had that written down. It was general letters against the lack of local control.
And I did sign those letters, and we sent them off as approved by your committee. Further, any other items on boards, committees, or commissions? Seeing none, future agenda items.
I have one, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
For my colleagues'
Nancy?
consideration. I think we're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off sometime. I'm wondering if sooner rather than later, Pebble Creek Parkway future treatment might be in order.
You want a workshop agenda item to what? To discuss the current plan and what might be a better plan?
A workshop, a public hearing, give the citizens an opportunity to weigh in. They've started a petition, as you know, and it's important to me as one member of council that the entire council have an opportunity to discuss Pebble Creek Parkway.
I would support that. I'd also like to make a recommendation that that discussion be held when the comp plan review committee comes to council, so we can have both of those discussions at the same time.
Is the comp plan review committee, I'd have to go, is they scheduled?
We're meeting Monday.
Oh, well, you're meeting Monday, but are they scheduled to be on our? Well, there, I don't see.
I think we
them.
have it tentatively scheduled for the 28th of September.
28th or 25th?
28th.
And we can do that, just to clarify, the comp plan doesn't cover any roadway changes. If it's, you just want it for context, that's fine, but I think there's been some misunderstanding of that too.
It's my understanding that the comp plan as a whole can be discussed during this time. So I know it's not one of the main areas of focus, but that the comp plan as a whole can be discussed at the time.
Yeah, you can discuss the comp plan, it's just not the thoroughfare plan. But you can discuss the thoroughfare plan too, it's just the difference between.
Are we able to, at that meeting, are we able to change the thoroughfare plan?
No.
But I thought the thoroughfare plan was part of the overall comp plan.
It's referenced, but the thoroughfare plan is a different thing. It doesn't mean you can't talk about
So
things on the thoroughfare plan.
I thought. Yeah,
The item on the 28th will be the evaluation and appraisal of the comprehensive plan. And so that'll be the opportunity for you guys to look at what's recommended from the CPEC for evaluation and appraisal of the existing
Right,
plan.
and we can discuss about those recommendations, but I saw, and Anthony, please correct me if I'm wrong, that we can discuss any aspect of the comprehensive plan at that time.
Correct. You can discuss it, but there will be no item for action. It's, you basically, the only item that council will be, you'll be receiving a report, but there is no action item and there's nothing being proposed about Pebble Creek Parkway specifically at all. But you can talk about it as part of that discussion.
What I heard the original request was to have a workshop item where the public was involved on Pebble Creek Parkway extension.
Right.
That's what I heard Mr. Yancey asking for.
And if whatever came out of that required a change to something, then that would just be subsequent.
Yeah. So it's typical workshop where you vet all the issues and then you direct staff to bring back an amendment.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be clear because sometimes people get, if they
Okay.
come to the meeting and think something is going to get voted on and it doesn't,
Right,
but that
right.
doesn't mean you can't talk about it and.
Right. So if you could please explain the process to me on what procedures we need to follow to change the thoroughfare plan that is currently in our comp plan. Tell me what procedures,
so
do we have a
since we're-
workshop, we have a
We
discussion?
we can do that in the workshop. I mean, obviously, right now, we don't have it on there, but we can go through the procedures for making a change to the thoroughfare plan, especially if council directs us to do that for Pebble Creek Parkway or any other roadway. But you'd have to, I mean, the first thing, yeah, you have to have the workshop before you can start that process. So this would be the first thing you'd have to do.
Support Mr. Yancey's recommendation that we have a workshop on the Pebble Creek Parkway.
Extension. And I think Mr. Smith was raising his hand. He agreed? Any other support for this? I hear. Okay, I think we've got a consensus, so I think.
And just to clarify, because I think what I heard was you want it on the 25th along with the comp plan.
Well, it'll be, I think that was Mr. White's
same
idea,
time.
that he would
Yeah.
understand better the context, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, it's probably useful, okay. Well, comp plan, we got economic development master plan that day.
Yeah, we'll look at the schedule.
I don't see a comp plan listed there.
It's not, but I think that's the date that we're intended to have
Okay.
it.
I'm okay with September 25th, okay, great. Any other future agenda items? Seeing none, and hearing nobody else, and it's not even 9 o'clock, I will declare this meeting adjourned.